Hello and welcome to another episode of the Adrienne Ross Show, the basketball edition. There's been a lot of conversation since last week's WNBA draft lottery, in which the Dallas Wings got the number one pick. After that, a lot of conversation about Paige Bueckers, who is projected to go number one, barring something major. But her response to it was not very exciting. And people had already been saying they believe that Paige wants to play in Los Angeles for the LA Sparks. When she was asked about if she had watched, she really was very, shall we say, dry about it. And she said she had not watched. And again, the talk, she's not happy. She doesn't want to go to Dallas. Those kinds of thoughts, those kinds of comments, etc.
Watched the draft lottery over the weekend?
No, I did not.
No. Did you, I'm sure you saw like the results. I know you're probably focused in on the season, but how have you just, dealt with I don't want to say WNBA distractions, but WNBA conversation and how you fit into it and everything?
I think I mostly dealt with it by focusing on having great practice today.
And then people started looking at various scenarios, one of which is that maybe something could be done. Look, I don't know how all those things work with how teams do what they do to move things around, but some people were saying if she really didn't want to go to Dallas, there's a possibility that Dallas could do something about that. Again, that's not my wheelhouse. But what really was surfacing out there was conversation about Paige Bueckers having another year of eligibility and that she could actually return to UCONN to play another year. And if she really doesn't want to go to Dallas, that's an option. She could stay at UConn, she could play again, and that might seem enticing to her, especially if they don't win a championship this year. Now I'm going to weigh in on this. I don't know a whole lot about Paige Bueckers. I certainly have never had a conversation with her. I cannot get into her mind, but I'm going to go out on a limb. And in fact, I don't even know if it's that much out on a limb, if you ask me, though some people would say it is. I cannot see a scenario in which Paige Bueckers, who is now 23 years old, chooses to come back or go back, I should say, to UConn. Now, if they don't win a championship, will her coach, Geno Auriemma, try to get her to come back? I can absolutely see that. But if she is as bright as she appears to be, I just don't see someone who will be 24 years old next season deciding I'm going to stay in college, especially if we're saying she's going to stay in college just because she doesn't do what people have been doing since the beginning of sports, and that is going to play for teams that they necessarily didn't have on their Christmas list. So my belief is that there's no way that someone who will be 24 years old and then 24 and a half by the time the season starts, the 2025 WNBA season starts, that you're going to say, I'm going to stay here. I really have developed well enough to play in the WNBA. I've been here all these years. I've got great accomplishments, but I'm just going to stay here and play another year because, well, I just want to stay here and play another year, or even I don't want to go to Dallas. I'd rather stay and see what goes down next year. I just don't see that happening. People go to college to get an education. That's first and foremost, okay? And people don't generally hang out at college for a whole lot of years so they can play more basketball. Now, they may stay at a particular college because they're going to be getting their master's degree and they decide to stay. But to send our young folks to college and they get an opportunity to play sports, that's wonderful. But then to say, I'm just going to dig my heels in and I'm going to stay here for a long time. I'm going to be 24 playing with 18-year-olds because yeah, I'm not ready to go yet, or I don't want to play for Dallas. Oh, I wanted to play for LA. Whoever's advising her, and I'm not counting on Geno to be that person in terms of the decision she makes, whether to go, whether to stay. And I'll show you why in a minute. But whoever's advising her, hopefully her parents would say, listen, Paige, it's time to move to the next level. It's time to go. But back to Geno. Why do I think Geno might be a person who wants her to stay? Well, because I think he had a lot to do with the reason she stayed for this year. Now, granted, she had been injured. She's had lots of injuries. But last season, best season of her career. Okay. But Geno, and maybe he wanted her to stay because he didn't think she was ready for the WNBA, which he said she's not ready, just like he said Caitlin wasn't ready. But he also used some other things to kind of build his case. And if he was telling us, of course he told her, and he told us he told her. Let's take a look back to what he said to her when she was deciding whether she was going to leave UConn or stay.
When Paige Bueckers said she was coming back, you said what?
I said, I knew that. She's having too good a time here. Her impact here is so great. Her impact nationally is great. And she doesn't want to be known as the greatest player ever to play at UConn without winning a national championship. And I remind her that every day.
Does she have the build to play in the WNBA?
No.
Okay, a good place to stop. You see what he said? He reminds her what he tells her all the time. You don't want to be the greatest player to come out of UConn to never win a championship. And I remind her that all the time. Right. Geno, I don't doubt that he cares about his players, but I also think Geno cares about Geno. And he reminds her of that, tells her what she doesn't want. Why? So she can stay and help him win a championship. It escaped them last year, thanks to Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes. Okay. So if Geno is in her ear, if they don't win a championship, I can see Geno saying, hey, Paige, you don't want to be the best player to come out of UConn who never win a championship. Okay. Because everybody else has won a championship. Start naming on people. Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, blah, 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 blah. The whole list of people in their stacked teams. So I can see him doing that. But I got to believe that someone who comes off, as Paige does, not just as an athlete, but someone who seems intelligent, right? I got to believe that she's going to say, I had my time in college. It's time to step up. So for those of you who are saying Paige she's likely to stay another year, or she may stay another year, I'm just on record as saying, I say absolutely not. Will Paige Bueckers be in a UConn jersey unless she's in the stands rooting for UConn while they're playing against whomever they're playing against? But on the floor, number 5 jersey, Paige Bueckers for UConn at 24 years old, I just don't see it happening. I think she's going to pull up her big girl shorts, put on her big girl jersey, and wherever she finds herself in the WNBA, that's where she's going to be. And she's going to, as to quote LeBron James, who said he was going to take his talents. How do you say it?
I'm going to take my talents to South Beach.
She's going to take her talents to the next level, and that is the WNBA. And we'll see how she does when she gets there. But I don't see a way, even in spite of Geno Auriemma's influence, that Paige Bueckers is not going to declare for the draft and move on with her life as we do when we are mature adults or even maturing adults. But I'm open to your thoughts. Get in the comments. What do you think? I'll catch you next time, God willing. God bless you abundantly.